Hey, so I just wanted to give a little bit more in-depth of a tutorial about how I handle sat shaders. So when you open my preset, kind of this is what you'll get. So I've already kind of done a little bit of this, but none of it's too hard, so you guys should be able to figure it out for yourself. So you'll want to put your inner overlay, whichever one looks better. You'll want to put that on your sat overlay layer here. And that I have set at 40%. You can mess around with it a little bit. If you have good satellite imagery, you can bump up opacity a little bit and get more satellite. I think 40 is kind of a sweet spot for most places. So usually where I start once I've done this step is I start to clone stamp out any trees, shadows, bunkers, the cart paths, kind of just anything that shouldn't be there on your SAT image. So that's easy enough to do. You just go to your overlay, you go to your clone stamp tool. I like to do this with a low softness brush. Just kind of makes the transition look better. So you'll find just kind of something nearby that's close in color, and just kind of paint that out. So we'll do that on this bunker too. That looks okay. It's not great, but yeah, it looks a little better. And then make sure you come into your green, remove any people or any flags. And you kind of want to use as small a brush as possible. Just kind of make it less obvious. And once you get this in game, you won't really notice anyway. Just pull out any kind of imperfections or kind of weird spots, clone stamp those out. So yeah, this is kind of weird. Kind of see this like lens flare from the SAT image. That's easy enough to remove. Yeah, and that will show up in game, so you want to make sure you get rid of that for sure. Especially like hard lines kind of up top like this. You can easily clone stamp those out. It's more noticeable in the fairway than it is in the rough. You don't always have to worry about it in the rough. So just get rid of this cart path. And I'll just do kind of one hole for now. And kind of show you the whole process here. So kind of the next step that I would do after I get all the trees out. I guess there's one here I could get rid of too. Get rid of that. Looks like there's one here. Since these are in deep rough, they really won't be noticeable, but you can get rid of them anyway. So just do that, get rid of those trees. Come in here and get rid of this shadow. So yeah, now kind of at this point, once I get all the the stuff that's not supposed to be there. Clone stamped away. I'll come in and add some wear. I'll use these grunge textures or this sand and mud texture. I'll probably use these in the rough and maybe these in the fairway. So for this course, I'm going for a fall look. So I'll probably add a little bit of this light grunge here. So these are all on layer masks. So you'll want to select the layer mask itself, not the actual texture on the left. You want to select this black box here. And then what you can do is just use the paintbrush tool and make sure it's full white here. This also looks good with low hardness. And then you'll just come through and kind of paint whatever you want to paint. This is really subtle. I had to have these set at low opacity so you can kind of adjust those up and down if you need to. I use this light grunge kind of as like dry spots in a fairway or high spots on a green. So I like these pretty low. And there's no real good technique for this. You'll kind of just have to use your eye. Let's see, you can add a little bit of dark too. Just kind of in the middle there to emphasize it. Yeah, so that should look alright in game. I'll probably lighten this opacity up just a little bit. It's a little too much. Yeah, you don't want anything too drastic. Subtle is kind of always better when it comes to using these. And then in these deep rough areas, I'll probably add a little bit more texture here. So I brought in all of my Inkscape shapes into this Inkscape shape folder. So what I'll do here is I'll just select deep rough with the selection tool here. I'm actually going to contract this a couple pixels because if I do it all the way to the edge, it's going to be a little jagged. So let's see, I'll contract it by 3 pixels and then I will actually feather it out by 3. So I'll turn that off, come into here, and this I'll probably have to play with a bit. Then I'll do some mud. Let's see, maybe I'll do that a little bit more spotty. And you know, it obviously kind of looks weird now, but once you lower the opacity a bit, and you bring this in game, you'll never know, and it'll look pretty good. So yeah, that just adds a little bit of the texture to the rough. Yeah, and a little bit to the fairways. Kind of the next thing I do once I get my texturing done is I will do mow lines. So this is really easy to do. I have these all set up, ready to go in a folder here. So I have vertical, horizontal, and then 45 degrees left and right. So for these, I will select my fairway Inkscape shape. Just select that. And then to create a relief mow line around the edge, since the mow line is probably not going to go all the way to the edge, I will contract this. 10 pixels seems to work pretty well. Turn the Inkscape shape off. And then I'll come in here. pick whichever angled mow line I want, and then I'll just paint that with a big brush. And then once you're done with all of your mow lines, so you don't have to be super careful around the greens. There's an easy way to get rid of those. So we'll just deselect that. We'll go to our greens, select that shape there, and then I will feather this out a couple pixels. Then go back to our mow line mask, and then I'll just use the either the paint bucket or the brush tool to just paint that black on the mask, and that gets rid of the mow lines that ended up on your green. You can kind of do the same thing for rough for mow lines as well. So let's see, let's do that. I'll select my rough color here. Actually, no, since the way I've done this doesn't work. I'll pick my fairway color here. And then just invert that selection. So now it's picking everything but the fairways. So now come down to our mask. Let's see, I'll do vertical mow lines here. And then come through with a brush and just paint those in. Once I deselect that, I got my mow lines on my fairways, mow lines in my rough. And then if you want concentric mow lines, Master Blaster has a tutorial from that. I suggest watching that. I'll probably add those later on when I get around to doing the whole Sat Shader here. But yeah, that's basically my process. It's pretty quick, and it always turns out pretty good. So these rendered clouds, you can tweak them, get a better look. Just adjust brightness or contrast. You can raise or lower them here if you want a darker or brighter. But yeah, that's basically how I do my Sat Shader.